Hi, Jessica. I like the change in the butterfly very much. That to me makes this work together much, much better. Oops, sorry. Going afield on me here. The color combination's really, really nice. Those deep, deep magenta and pinks. That's really cool with the blues. You're all over at one end of the color spectrum and they all work very nicely with the exception of just these little pops of yellow in here, here, and here. And those are repeated, so that also works really, really nicely. The one thing that I would suggest is to think about lighting direction. Your source of light, very strong source of light, is right here, right in this sun that's peeking over the horizon of this planet and hitting this moon. So if that's the case, then these tips of your flower are going to be lit and these tips are going to be a little bit darker. So the flower is kind of tilted the wrong way. And this petal right here and this petal right here should be lighter. If we're going to do that, then you could come in here and take a slice out of this one right here. That one, copy and paste it to a new layer, move it up. Oopsie. Let me just check and make sure. All right, must be this layer. Oh, sorry, wrong flower. There we go. Okay, let me try that again. Okay, copy and paste that to a new layer. Then you can bring it over here. Use the transform orb tool. Bring that down so it covers up that edge of that leaf. Boom, like that. We want to make sure it doesn't take up too much space. Actually, I'm going to copy and paste that again and bring it over here for this edge. Warp and bring that down like that here. Like that. Okay, so now I've got two lighter edges there. I'm going to put this one at 50% so I can see. And I'm using the pen tool, but you could use any number of tools to select. Pen tool is your absolute most precise selection tool in a lot of situations, especially like this. So I'm just going to take that off like that. Put that back at 100%. Come over and again select the flower. Inverse the selection and erase that layer right there. Wow, okay. I'm actually not going to do that because it looks like I'm losing too much. Okay, so bring that in here. And I'm using the eraser tool. You could also very most definitely use a layer mask to do this even more precisely, probably. Okay, let me make sure that that one is, I'm just looking at blend modes here. Like that, and then I'm gonna just do a dodge on the edge to give that even more of a bright edge there and make that vary a bit. So now you've kind of got that one a little bit more copacetic with the idea that, and I'm dodging that layer too, just a little bit of detail in there. So you've got that branch there lit a little bit more, and I can drop the opacity on this just a wee bit because it's looking just a little too attention grabbing at the moment. I'm going to be at maybe 85% on that one. Yeah, that looks not bad. Okay, now let's tackle the purple flower and changing that. So we might want to come in here and dodge the tips of those, the side of that one. Again, tips, there. And then because there isn't really anything there to dodge or burn because it's so bright, I'm going to make a selection of that flower. I'm going to take my purple brush from about here and I'm going to put it in multiply mode. So it's going to take what's already there and just make it even darker. And in here, and here, and here. And that might be a bit too dark, but I think we're going to be okay there. You're losing color in this leaf, so let me come up here, make a new layer, and paint that leaf purple. And I'm going to change the blend mode of that leaf. It's just got that one petal on it to color. So we're not quite so drab and dark there. Okay, so look at the way that planet's lit, the moon's lit. See how that edge of that is perfectly like highlighted? It's got a really bright highlight. So I'm going to come in here and make a circular selection that when I inverse that and I go to the layer that has right here, in the middle of it, I'm going to be selecting that piece and putting it on its own layer. Okay, undo. Okay. So I'm just getting this little sliver of this, yeah, just making sure it's on there. Now when I come into curves, see, I can make it way, way, way brighter there. So it's starting to look like the edge of this moon. Then I can come in here with an eraser or use a layer mask and just soften that edge down a bit because we don't want a really hard edge there. See how that edge is a little crinkly due to the texture? We want to do the same thing there. I can make a new layer, hold down my Option or Alt key, and I want this layer to be in overlay mode or soft light mode and fill with a neutral color because I'm dodging and burning with this. So I am using a black brush to come in here and cancel. Black brush, oh, brush, right there. Okay, and I'm, again, black brush, and that's gonna burn that down, make it darker. Okay, the other thing it is doing is kind of giving this a bit too much color in here. So I can come in here and I'm going to make an adjustment layer with hue and saturation and drop the saturation. There we go. We only wanted to affect that though, so I'm going to fill this entire thing with black, Option delete, and then switch to a white paintbrush and paint where it would be losing the saturation because it didn't have enough light. Okay, so you would have an area very, very bright, then you're going to have an area more than likely that's going to have the color, original color there, and then it's going to shift over here into a really dark area. So, and in here again, and I can erase a little of that if I want. Okay, like that. So you're going to end up with the lighting being a little more consistent. The lighting for the top middle section of the flower should mimic this quite a bit. Now we've got zero detail in that edge, and there should be a little bit of fall off in here. So there we go. This is this. So I'm going to add a layer style here. Go to Pattern Overlay. And this is already loaded because I did it just for a minute ago to check and make sure it'll work right. And I'm in darken blend mode with a texture. You won't have this texture because it's in mine, but you can take pictures of any kind of texture and save them and add them into your textures. So what I'm going to do here is come over. Oh, I want to create layer, so I'm going to come in here and put that off on its own layer. put a layer mask on it because now I can paint out the texture where I don't want it right up here, for instance. So I'm going to switch to my black brush, and paint out the texture on the sun there, and just leave the edge completely white on this one. So I've got a little bit of a fall off between the edge where it's super white and the place where it is super, super dark. You've got just a little bit of detail in there, mimicking this over here, except this side isn't as dark. It wouldn't be if you had a flower in this position, because you get a little bit of bounced light off of that flower. Now this is where you should zoom in, because see this right here? You've lost a little opacity in there. So I'm just going to come in here and make a few copies of it over and over itself. And we've got 5 layers, and just flatten those out. And that will fill in that little bit of semi-transparency that shouldn't be there. Last little bit I would suggest is coming into the background layer. Let me just take another peek here. See how the eye is, this is a very bright spot here. The eye is going to be drawn by bright spots. So compositionally, I would come in here with a clone tool and just clone out that super bright spot. And that is going to make those flowers stand out a bit more. I might even do just a bit more. I'm just using the Option key to on the eyeball for that layer to make just that layer appear. Everything else will disappear. Lastly, make sure you zoom in and look, because I'm seeing a little bit of edge stuff here. The pen tool is, again, super, super good for doing this stuff. So just come in and trim off with the pen tool. Remember, you've also got the curvature pen tool, which is a lot easier for most people to use now. If you have not made friends with the regular pen tool yet, I do recommend you make friends with the regular pen tool, because it is awesome. Okay, and I want to be back up on the pink layer. There we go, and take off that. See, there's a little nicer edge there. Now if that's too pointy right there, which it seems to me to be, okay, and erase, erase, erase. There we go. So something more along the lines of that. We're thinking about direction of lighting. We're thinking about clean edges. So zoom in and go all the way around to all those edges. Make sure they look nice and clean. We're thinking about the way the light hits this moon, and it would be the same way it would hit the circular upshot in the middle of this flower too. So make it look like that. You might have a little bit of drop shadow underneath, well, some kind of a shadow underneath the butterfly. So if you did, black brush, like that, I don't think you would have that much shadow, but you could bring the opacity way, way down and just have a little hint of a shadow there. There you go. Just to give it a little depth off of the background. If it's too much, remember, you've got your eraser tool. You can come in here and just trim it off a little bit. But that would be more or less what I would suggest. Let me see how close I came to the way I redid it before. So there is the redo from before. It's going to be a little bit different every time. That's what I just showed you. I like the petals over here. I spent a little bit more time on those, but that is pretty much what I would suggest as far as thinking through the light, looking at edges, and making things look like they're lit by the same source. Nice work though, and I'm looking forward to seeing what you do next time.